Well, what is good, everybody? It is the end of an era. At least the end of an era in physical media. I just found out, and apparently this is something that happened a couple of days ago, so I'm a little behind the eight ball on this, that Game Informer magazine was just abruptly shut down, and apparently they were like 70% way through their final issue before corporate decided to pull the plug. And by corporate, I mean GameStop, since they're the parent company. This one hits me. It hits me a little harder than some announcements because, well, I'm partly to blame for the demise. I used to, back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean, in the Dreamcast, original Xbox, PlayStation 2 era, I used to buy and devour gaming magazines. This was, of course, back when the internet was still pretty nascent and online gaming hadn't really quite taken off yet. And if you wanted to learn all about what games were coming up and see screenshots and the artwork and read about the development of the game, the only way we're going to hear about it was either word of mouth, or you were going to have to just get your hands on as much gaming media as you could. And gaming magazines were a lifesaver. Growing up, I had a subscription to Nintendo Power magazine. To this day, I thank Nintendo Power for introducing me to the genre of role-playing games. I had never really played one before, and Nintendo Power, I think I've told this story on another video, but I'm going to tell it again. I think Nintendo Power, they were running a special where if you signed up for a one-year subscription to the magazine, not only did you get the magazine, but you got a free copy of Dragon Warrior plus a Dragon Warrior player's guide. And of course, I and several of my friends hopped all over that. And, my mom, she was the sort that she just wanted me reading. So, she had no problem with paying for that for me. And I appreciate that to this day. And to this very day, Dragon Warrior holds a very warm and special place in my heart. And again, that's thanks to physical media. But moving forward, I don't think I really started reading with any degree of regularity gaming magazines till, probably the early 2000s. Like I said, that whole PlayStation, original Xbox, GameCube era. And I think the first one that I started buying post Nintendo Power was Official Dreamcast magazine. And that was for two reasons. One, I'd just gotten the Dreamcast, which was the very first brand new video game console I'd ever owned. Everything I'd ever had before, I take that back. It was the first one that I ever bought with my own money. So let me correct myself there. And of course, at the time, I was just starting out in life. I was in my early 20s and didn't have a whole lot of money. And since downloadable demos weren't really a thing at the time, I used to buy the magazine primarily for the demo discs that came. And I have to tell you, a lot of the demos that used to come on those discs were pretty substantial. I mean, there were some that you could easily spend a couple hours just tooling around in the demo and just having a blast. And then, of course, I moved on to original Xbox magazine and official PlayStation magazine. And to this day, I still love collecting the demo discs that came with those. And a lot of times they featured really phenomenal cover art. And I think I got to give Game Informer credit. I think they did magazine cover art probably better than anyone else. So yeah, it hurt me in my soul to hear that it was going out. And the reason I say that I'm partly to blame is it's people like me who love physical media, always have and always will, but we got too complacent. We got too used to watching YouTube videos or reading our articles online, and a lot of us just stopped buying the magazines. Now, for folks that like me who have a subscription to Game Informer, It's not that we sought it out. It just kind of came as a benefit of having that. I think it used to be called Power Up Rewards. I forget what they call it now. But we just got so used to doing everything online that even we abandoned physical media, at least as far as it pertains to magazines. So, we do bear a certain bit of the blame. I don't know of any that are left. I'm sure there are. I think there's one called Nintendo Force that's still in publication, and I think there's some specialty gaming magazines you can find. By and large, we've watched them fall one by one. It was a big shock when Nintendo Power closed up shop, because that was an industry and a fan favorite. Matter of fact, Nintendo Power collecting has become its own little cottage industry, and a lot of those magazines are expensive now, which absolutely kills me, y'all, because between Nintendo Power and Game Pro and the official console magazines, I can't tell you how many hundreds of magazines I've thrown in the trash that I would dearly love to have back now. And if I wanted them now, I would be paying so much money. But, live and learn. At the time, I guess we thought magazines were always going to be around, and they were just, a cheap form of media. So we saw them as disposable. Only now we're learning, not probably wasn't the best move. They're not as disposable as we thought. But, the funny thing is, even though I've had the GameStop membership for several years now, I can't remember the last time they actually sent me a magazine. And I've specifically told them when I would re-up my membership to go ahead and send me the physical magazine, but they just never did. And I never made a stink about it. Maybe I should have. I tell you what I do. I'm thinking now, I actually want to go back now that I'm feeling all nostalgic and finding certain key issues of Game Informer and just, adding them to my gaming media collection. But I think there's a lot of folks that work for that magazine. I think, what was their editor, Andy McNamara, I want to say. I think he's been with them for like over 30 years. And, that's got to be hitting him pretty hard. I think a lot of the print media journalists have now moved online. They're doing podcasts and that sort of thing and keeping their careers going, which, it's cool. They've pivoted in the way that they needed to. But I don't think anything will be the same as just holding a magazine in your hand and reading it. There's an old joke or an old trope about Gen Xers like me and older millennials that, back before cell phones and internet in your hand, we would just sit on the toilet and read the peroxide bottles. But that's actually true. And as gross as it is, hey, some of my fondest memories with gaming media were sitting on the throne, dropping a hot one, and just reading the magazine till my legs went numb. I remember one experience with Game Informer in particular that I don't know why it stands out in my mind, but it does. My oldest son, I think at the time was 3 or 4 years old, and his mother and I had taken him to Chuck E. Cheese, and I had a copy of Game Informer rolled up and in my pocket, and it was the one that had a big cover or a big review of the game Gun. And I sat there in Chuck E. Cheese while my little boy went nuts, riding the rides, playing the games. And I'm just reading. And just like the more I read about the game Gun, I'm like, man, I got to get this. Like, I don't know why. Again, there's nothing special. Like, Gun is a great game, don't get me wrong, but it's like, not one of those games that, heavily impacted the gaming landscape. But I don't know. It just stands out for me. And I ended up buying Gun for the original Xbox. Absolutely loved it. I have it for the 360 as well. And really, that game could use a remake. But I digress. It sucks. I mean, getting older sucks. I guess it beats the alternative. But just, I don't know, watching physical media and those last little vestiges of things that were, I guess they seemed insignificant at the time, but now you realize, like so many things in life, it's the little things that really are important, and I wish that I would have maybe paid more attention to or appreciated a little more. I guess it's like they say, you know, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And now that song's going to be stuck in my head the rest of the day. But yeah, anyway, a lot of folks on Reddit were upset by the news, and you know, were feeling some sentiment similar to mine. T-Pig said, "Man, I used to love getting these in the mail as a kid. The cover art was so cool sometimes." Master Foe said, "Yeah, it was like a Christmas present coming in every month," which I agree with. I used to, if I was having a bad day at work or whatever was going on, and I would open up my mailbox and there was Game Informer or Game Pro or some other gaming magazine, it just made my day a whole lot better. Narwhal says, "Sick demos on the CD." And I have to tell you, back in the day, pre-internet, when you wanted to try a game out, couldn't download it, these demos, they were a lifesaver, especially if you were broke. And then Pony Kegabs, I don't know, I'm mispronouncing that probably, but he said, "I had the Arkham Asylum issue, desperately wanted it, but only had a Wii. Thumbed through that issue so many times." But anyway, y'all, I'd be interested to hear how you feel about this. I think if you're part of the younger generations that don't have any particular attachment to magazines or memories, it's probably not going to bother you all that much. But if you're an old head like me, and you used to really appreciate those magazines and all the little extras that came with them, tell me your stories in the comments below. I would be really keen to read them, and tell me what you think. Are you upset that it's shutting down, or are you indifferent to it? There are some folks that have been, you know, basically questioning why. I don't think it needs any explanation. Physical media, especially print media, is really dying. I mean, books I think will always be around, but magazines and newspapers, they've been dwindling. And it's well established at this point that GameStop, its parent company, has been having financial issues for a while. The little Wall Street bets Reddit stock boost notwithstanding. And it costs a lot of money to run a magazine, especially one with, you know, great artwork, glossy pages, paying all these reporters, and you know, it's probably an expense that they couldn't bear anymore. So it is what it is. Anyway, thank y'all for watching, especially those that are still around after my little political diatribe video. Like I said, I'm going to try not to do that too often. I was really in my feelings about politics that day. So, hey, you have my promise that, you know, while politics are, it's going to be, you know, videos about they're going to be few and far between. You know, it's like they're not going to be the meat and potatoes of what I do here. I'm still going to cover mostly, you know, gaming, technology, collecting, you know, all the good nostalgic stuff. Anyway, as always, y'all, pick your battles, because not every hill is worth dying on. Take it easy.
Being strung out is not a game. So if you're thinking about using crack, don't do it.